Well, hello everyone, my farmer friends. It is Corinna, and I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas. I know it's coming up in a few days. We are busy here at the Bench household, getting ready for all the holiday celebrations. So I am a little crazy right now. I'm also still congested. So I have my water here, and I'm really hoping I'm not going to go into a coughing fit in the middle of today. But I'm glad to be here with you guys. And today's topic is going to be a good one. It's also going to be a long one. And I am trying to shorten my videos, but this material is such an instrumental piece of the puzzle. And I get a lot of questions about what is a lead magnet. So I really want to dive deep. This is going to be a deep training today to really get your mind turning. This is something you guys absolutely need to develop if you want to join the online marketing system. You don't have to do all the pieces in the pie on the front end, but this is probably one of them that you do need to do. So we're going to go real deep today into lead magnets. We're going to talk all about what the job of the lead magnet is, where it fits in the funnel, some examples of lead magnets, what are the characteristics of a great lead magnet, what are some things that are not lead magnets that you may have on your website right now, and how do you go about building a lead magnet. We'll briefly touch on that at the end. So here are kind of the ground rules as usual. I am going to present my material, and I want you to ask questions as I go through this because they are going to show up here in my feed. And then at the end, I am going to take a look at them and answer them so that I can keep the content here kind of in the middle, and I can cut off the ends later if I want to put this on YouTube, which I probably will eventually. So let me know if you're here. Just comment here so I know that you're around. And if you're catching the replay, welcome. So glad that you're here. So again, today's topic is all about lead magnets. And lead magnets are one of the primary pieces in the marketing funnel. So I'm going to remind those of you who haven't perhaps seen some of the other videos about the funnel or the online marketing system. I'm going to just kind of back out real quick and remind you of where the lead magnet falls. If you recall, in the different kinds of audiences that you can have, there's the cold audience, the warm audience, and the hot audience, right? And they kind of form a funnel shape. So there's all kinds of traffic out there on the internet. You can go to different places, different traffic stores. There's Google, and there's Facebook, and there's Pinterest, and there's LinkedIn, and there's Instagram. There's frankly, even just off the internet, there's your referrals, there's people that you just know and talk about word of mouth. Okay, so there's traffic coming in from everywhere, and these are all people that are kind of floating around, and they enter your funnel at the top in the cold traffic area. And the cold traffic are people who don't really know who you are yet. They're not very aware of who you are. Excuse me. So the job of your business early on is to attract people into the funnel in the first place so that you can begin to show them your brand and build authority and trust with them. So the job of the lead magnet is to attract your ideal customer into your funnel. And so the lead magnet typically shows up at the very top of the funnel or in the middle of the funnel, not so much at the bottom, because you're trying to attract people into your sphere of influence. I want you to remember the fact that when people first hear about your farm, let's say that you're trying to sell a CSA package, right? It's a very high dollar ticket item. And when people first hear about you, they don't know you well enough to shell out $400 for a large ticket item like that. They're just not ready to buy yet. You have to warm them up, hence this idea of the customer journey moving through the funnel. And so that's why if you don't have a process in place to get your customers' information so that you can nurture them along and warm them up to eventually sell them your high ticket item, you're going to be leaving money on the table. And that's the job of the lead magnet. For all those people who come to your website, who see something on Facebook or wherever you find your traffic, if they're not ready to buy yet, and they probably aren't, then you need to give them something to trade so that you can get their contact information, so that you can sell them later on once you've groomed them and warmed them up. Okay, that is the reason why lead magnets exist. It becomes a transitional call to action. They're not ready for the direct call to action. They're not ready to buy now. So let me give you a transitional call to action. Let me give you another option that's a little more risk-free and that gets you into my sphere of influence. I get your contact information, and then I can start to let you get to know me over time, and then eventually sell it to you later when you are ready. Okay? So I had never heard of lead magnets 2 years ago. That was a totally new concept to me. And once I learned about it, of course, I started to see them everywhere, all over the internet. They're everywhere. And once you hear about it today, you're going to spot them and recognize them for what they are. And so what happened for me, I built my first lead magnet. It was the A to Z vegetable guide. I had already actually made this guide, and I was sharing it with my customers. But I decided that I would make it my official lead magnet. It was the bait on my website. And I was going to try and I was going to give this to people if they gave me their email address. And what I discovered was that it was a very powerful lure. And a lot of people started to share their email address with me. And my email list began to grow and grow and grow. So I went from, over the course of probably 6 months with that one lead magnet, my list grew about 500 people during the season. So that tells me that that is a very powerful piece of information. So what are you going to get out of this if you build a lead magnet and then you build the system underneath it that nurtures them along once they take the bait? That's also important. You will be able to sell more of your product because you will honor the journey of the customer. Okay, so that's why lead magnets are important. And remember, they're at 2 different places in the funnel. They're for people who have never heard about you. They stumble on your website, they kind of read up on it, and then, or maybe it's a Facebook ad and they see a lead magnet there. It's like 10 ways to eat all those tomatoes in your garden, then they click on that, and that might be the first time they hear about you. Then you get their email address. So it can be at the top of the funnel where they're first just learning about you and becoming exposed to your brand. Or it could be in the middle of the funnel where they've already heard about you once or twice, and now they're starting to investigate. They're still not quite ready to buy, but they're a little further on in the journey. They're in the middle of the funnel, and then that's when they click and they're willing to trade their information for you. So what is a lead magnet? I'm going to give you the official definition that I have kind of put together. It's a small chunk of value that solves a specific problem for a specific market that's offered in exchange for contact information. Okay? So there's kind of 2 important pieces in there. There's the word specific, and then there's exchange. So a small chunk of value, you're going to give them something valuable that the customer actually wants. That's going to solve a problem for them, a specific problem, not a general problem, for a very specific market, and you offer that in exchange for the contact information. Okay, that's what you want. You get that out of the deal, and they get value in return that helps them solve a specific problem. Now, before I get started on the characteristics of a great lead magnet, I'm going to tell you what is not a lead magnet. Your newsletter, your subscribe now to get my newsletter on your website, that is not a lead magnet. So you may have that on your website. I never did, just because I didn't know how to set it up long ago. But that is not considered a lead magnet because it's not something specific. It's not going to solve a specific problem. It's just sort of a general blah newsletter. And you may find that you're not getting a lot of people subscribing to that. And there's probably a reason for that, because it's not specific enough, it's not eye-catching enough. So I would recommend, the general recommendation out there in the online marketing space is to not do the general newsletter subscribe form on your website. You may have a super awesome newsletter that's getting a ton of subscribes, and so if that's the case, ignore that advice. But if it's not working for you, you may want to listen to this training and instead substitute a powerful lead magnet in its place. Okay? Sorry. Okay, so the first characteristic of a great lead magnet is, number one, it's very specific. It makes a specific promise. It gives a specific example. It might give a specific shortcut. It answers a specific question, or it offers a specific discount. These are all examples of the specificity piece. So let me give you a little bit more detail here. So number one, it makes a specific promise. So how to blank and have blank. I'm trying to think of it. That's kind of the formula for a general title for that. So learn how to store your veggies properly and reduce food waste. Okay, so that might be a PDF or the A to Z vegetable guide, that essentially solves that problem. The title, whatever you create here, that's going to make a specific promise, the title needs to explain what you're giving them. So a lot of lead magnets fail because the title's bad. So you want to really spend some time thinking about, this how to blank and have blank. So talk about what it is and why it's meaningful to the customer, and try to get that in one small brevity title. And you really want to speak to the desired result of your ideal customer. It's also another example. It gives a specific example. So a case study or a testimonial page might be really helpful here. I haven't personally done this one yet, but this is something you see a lot out in other businesses where they'll, in order to get you to sign up and to be interested, they'll say, well, you can download this PDF that shows 3 different case studies of how this program has worked for other people. And it might be 3 different businesses that are in different niches that share how this product has helped them. And then somebody who downloads it then is going to read that and identify with one of those avatars, one of those testimonials, and then be ready to buy. A video testimonial could work really well here. If you have a customer that would be willing to talk about how your product has changed them, that would be a specific example that people could then download that. Or maybe it's a CSA swipe. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the next one. Okay, my apologies. I'm skipping ahead. So in this example, they know immediately what they're getting, and they see this case study and they go, wow, I want those results too. And it makes them ready to buy. It could give a specific shortcut. Now this is the one that I tend to default to. So I have a lead magnet called the Top Kitchen Tools for CSA Masters. And in this, it's just like 2 pages, and it lists the 10 kitchen tools that, from my research, the CSA Masters, almost all of them had in their kitchen. So why this one is so powerful is because it's speaking to a very specific audience. It's attracting my ideal customer avatar. It's not trying to speak to people who buy farmers market produce. It's talking very specifically about, hey, CSA Masters get this. So in other words, if you're thinking about joining the CSA, these are the tools that you might want. So if someone downloads that and I get their email address, I know that that customer is probably interested in a CSA, or they would never have downloaded a tool about CSA Master Kitchen Tools. Okay, do you see how this is working? So that is offering them a specific shortcut. I'm teaching them, hey, here's what you're going to need. I've got all this information from our masters. They learned this the long and hard way. Now you're going to get it here, fast, short, and sweet. Most popular blank. Formula for a blank. Anatomy of a perfect soup. I don't know, I just made that up. Okay, so think about what does your customer want to learn, and then give them the shortcut. Show them the template to get them there faster. It could answer a specific question. Okay, so this is a really great one too. I want you to sit down and think about all the different questions, the most common questions that you get from your prospects. We all have probably a short list of 3 or 4 questions that we get over email, and we're like, oh my gosh, not again, I have to answer this. So for me, the question I get a lot is, what's the difference between a Halfshare and a Fullshare? I get that one a lot. And then I get, what's going to be in my box? How do I know it's going to be in my box every week? Those are the very most frequent ones. So because I kept getting those questions, before I even heard about lead magnets, I had created a document that answered them. And I actually created a video for the Halfshare versus Fullshare question because I was just tired of answering it. And I wanted to be able to just link people to a YouTube video and say, go watch this. So when I learned about lead magnets, I was like, I could turn this into my lead magnet. So I created a lead magnet called the Harvest Calendar, What's in Your Box Harvest Calendar. It's basically a grid that shows week by week the types of things I grow, and I X the certain boxes. It's real pretty looking. And I say, if you want to know what's going to be in your box, give me your email address. So that one gets a lot of downloads because that is answering a burning question that a lot of people have, and they can kind of see, well, this is generally what's going to be in the box, roughly. The video I haven't turned into a lead magnet, but I could create a landing page, and then I could say, if you want to know what's going to be the difference between the two, give me your email address, and then once I do, I give them the link to the video on YouTube where they can then go watch it. So that would be another way. Again, that's a great lead magnet because no one would be asking for those two items unless they're interested in CSA. So it qualifies your lead. That's what makes a great lead magnet a great lead magnet. If it's specific, if it's speaking to a specific problem and a specific target. You could also offer a specific discount. So this is where the coupons come into play. I've never used a coupon, but I know that probably a lot of you do. The trick here is that you want it to be specific. You don't want it to be this open-ended, 25% off, forever. You want it to be like Black Friday weekend. It's got to have a deadline and a timeline to it in order for it to be powerful. Okay, so the most important quality of a great lead magnet is that it is specific. The numbers 2 quality is that it should be easily digestible. So this is where I need to work on it because I am not known for my brevity. The A to Z vegetable guide. So if you went out into the online marketing space and showed them my lead magnet right now, the 70-page A to Z vegetable guide, they would say that's way too big. That's probably something more that should be like a tripwire offer that you should actually sell to people for, $7 or $3 because it's a digital item. But so I'm actually thinking about that right now, moving that to a different place in my funnel. But it should be easily digestible because somebody doesn't want to download something that takes so long to get through that they just abandon it, right? If it's this huge ebook they have to read, it's like, forget it. But if it's just a 1 or 2 page document or a video that they can consume quickly and get the answer that they want quickly, it just moves them faster along the journey. So think about that as you're creating your lead magnet. It should be easily digestible, and the content should be very focused, answering one question, not a million questions, just to keep that confusion from setting in. Number 3, your lead magnet should be something that will attract your ideal customer. That's so important. We've touched on that a little bit already in this training. But the more specific you can build it to attract your specific target, it's just so much easier because then you know that the person who downloads this particular item is going to be interested in that product. Let me give you an example of something that I actually did. Kind of embarrassed to even tell this story because it's just so ridiculous looking back on it now. But when I first started hearing about this concept of lead magnets, I was like, okay, I know my target audience is women with kids in this age bracket. So I was trying to get as many leads as I possibly could. And I'm like, what if I made a lead magnet that was like, the top 50 places to take your kids in Toledo? So I went out and started doing research and made just a giant list and linked it up. I actually got pretty far along into it, and was almost done with it. And then I realized, thank God I didn't put it up, because I realized if I had made that my lead magnet, there was no congruency with my product at the end of the funnel. So yeah, it might have attracted some of my target audience. It might have attracted young moms in the 25 to 45 age range, but it wouldn't have been speaking to moms who maybe like to eat organic vegetables. So Does that help you see? Like, you don't want to make something that's a valuable resource for the wrong audience. That would be a great lead magnet if I were doing a blog for moms. But I'm not doing a blog for moms. I'm doing a blog for people who love vegetables and love local farmers. So the lead magnet that you create needs to be congruent. It needs to have alignment with your target, with the funnel that you're building. So another thing to think about here is that you're going to create over time, as you build out your value ladder. If you don't know what a value ladder is, you can watch that video training I did a few weeks ago. As you create additional products in your suite, each one of those flagship products is going to have essentially its own funnel. You're going to create a system to try and get people to move to buy that thing. So you want to create, eventually, don't do this your first year, but eventually you'll be developing lead magnets for every one of those flagship products. So my A to Z vegetable guide, in my opinion, right now, is a good lead magnet for the generalist who's, wanting to perhaps learn more about eating vegetables. It doesn't really tell me that person wants to be in my CSA. It could just be someone who likes to eat vegetables, who's probably going to shop at my farmer's market and get to know me there first, or order from my online store. So I kind of look at that as a funnel, the top of the funnel, the lead magnet for the funnel that leads people to maybe the online store track, where I kind of start grooming my audience there. The document that I created, 6 questions to ask before you join a CSA, that particular lead magnet really targets and speaks to the person who's ready to join my CSA. And so I know that a person that's in there is gonna start a funnel and head towards my flagship CSA product. Okay, so the lead magnet that you make should have alignment with the thing at the end of the funnel that you're trying to sell. That's really, really important. Okay, so let me give you some examples of lead magnets. There's a whole bunch of them here, so hopefully you can, if you're listening to this while you're in the greenhouse or somewhere else, maybe come back to this and take notes down on this section, make a note of where this is right now in the recording. So a checklist, a step-by-step process of what to do with your box. I actually made this document because my customers, I felt like they needed the plan. They needed to know, what do I do with this? Now my veterans know what to do with the box, but my rookies would have benefited from just some helpful step 1, pick up the box, put it in a cooler and keep it at, a good temperature before you get home. Step 2, deal with your danger zone veggies, the ones that are, take the tops off your carrots and your greens. Step 3, I kind of walked them through what you should do with the box. And so that could also potentially be a lead magnet. So a checklist of, do this, this, this. A cheat sheet. So gosh, this is a great one. There's so many things. Think of all the different things that you could teach people how to use the food and create a shortcut or a cheat sheet to show them how to do it. This could be an infographic that you make that shows, how to blanch something. So I've done a how to blanch spinach, and then I gave that away. That was actually a decent lead magnet for me. I did a formula for do-it-yourself veggie broth. I made an infographic, a beautiful infographic with that. I made something called the meal templates page, so it listed all the different kinds of meals that you could eat and put them in order from most popular to least popular, and people downloaded that and they used that to help them figure out what should I even make tonight, and they can kind of see a list of 20 different types of dishes that just kind of break their that roadblock of I don't even know what to make. They can be reminded of the kinds of meals that exist, right? A swipe file. Now, I don't know how you would do this with a CSA product, but you guys downloaded my swipe file to get into my funnel. That was something valuable to you. You wanted to know what are the emails that you used for your marketing campaign. I want that. I'm going to give you my email address for you. So if you have something that would translate in the farm world with a swipe file, that can be really powerful. Templates. So if you have a template of some sort, maybe a meal template or a type of meal template, if you have a formula for a certain way of preparing a food, put that together and share that. There are people out there for example, pesto. A lot of people in my CSA don't know the formula for a basic pesto. That would be a great template to share. Again, you could just make an infographic out of it, or you could not. If you don't know how to build infographics, just write it all out in text and say, I'll show you the 5 steps for making a basic pesto. And, you know, you can substitute just about any kind of green for this. But there are a lot of people who don't know the basic 4 or 5 things that go into a pesto, and that might be something they'd really like to download. A 3-part email series or a 3-part video series. These are popular out in the online marketing space right now, and I'm really playing around with this. Don Miller does a good job with this to lure people into his story brand workshop. So he has a 3-part video series of the 5 things that you can do to improve your website right now. And when I was looking to improve my website and I stumbled upon that, I'm like, oh, I want to know the 5 things that'll make a huge difference. But I couldn't watch the videos until I gave them my email address, and I was willing to do that. And they were short, bite-sized pieces of content that I could digest quickly. I didn't have to sit and watch a 45-minute video like this training is going to turn into, right? But I could learn it really quickly, and so that intrigued me. So think about what could that look like for you. Is there something that you could teach to a CSA prospect? Like, what are the 3 questions that prospects have? Maybe you have, you know, video 1 is answering frequently asked question number 1, and video 2 is answering the most common objection people have to joining a CSA, and video 3 shares the benefits and features of your program. Okay, so I mean, kind of think through what would that look like, and just try to keep those videos then to 5 minutes each, and it could just be you in front of your camera, like what I'm doing. Maybe get a more interesting backdrop than my owl back here, but you know, just break it up and then put those onto YouTube, and then link people to them in on a landing page. So you could also do it as an email series. So if you don't want to do the video, you could drip out this information to them once they give you their email address. Then you've built a pre-scripted drip campaign that answers, it gives them this value, you know, 1 email per day, 3 days in a row. And they're waiting, you know, on tenterhooks for the next one. So that could be another lead magnet, because it's quickly digestible. They'll get the information within 3 days. A toolkit is another example of a lead magnet. I was trying to think of how I could explain a toolkit. So if there are any farmers out there right now who are doing meat products, like if you sell beef, for instance, a really great lead magnet tool for someone who's coming into your funnel who wants to eat beef, but they've never bought beef before. You know, put yourself in their shoes. The first time they get a cut list, they're like, what the hell is this? They don't know the first thing about the cuts of meat and the parts of the body they come from. So maybe a toolkit would be, a lead magnet would be something where they get, you know, the picture of the cow and the different pieces, and then you have a cut list, and then the part 3 of the toolkit is a detailed step-by-step way to use the cut list so that someone isn't overwhelmed. You know, you can say, if you like da-da-da-da, then you want lots of sausage, or you want lots of ground beef. You know, you can kind of help them figure out what they should get their first time. Or you could even have a recommended, you know, package first time. So these are all pieces that you could put into a toolkit lead magnet for someone who's just, you know, wanting to learn this very confusing process of how to buy cuts of beef from you. If you're a brand new customer, that is incredibly overwhelming, and you want to give them a great first experience. So what can you give them to equip them and feel ready and confident that this guy or girl took care of me? They're going to really guide me through this process of having a good experience eating beef. Okay? So I don't know how many of you are beef producers, but that would be an example of how you could make a toolkit type product that you would give them then in exchange for their email address. Excuse me. Another great example of a lead magnet are lists. Top 10 lists of you know, best kitchen tools of the masters. Top 10 questions you should ask before you join a CSA. Mine were 6. Top 10 ways to use too many tomatoes. That's not a really great one, but you get the idea. So come up with some things that, it doesn't have to be 10, it could be 9, it could be 7, but a list of something. A resource list would be really helpful too. Maybe a resource list of your best food blogs, or if you're a greenhouse and you're selling flowers, maybe a resource list of the best veggie variety starter plants, or most popular new blooms coming this season. So creating a list for people and distilling, there's a lot of information out there, so if you can give them a shortcut and put it into a list, that goes a long way. I know one of the things that you guys have been telling me for this particular startup that I'm putting together here is, hey, I want to know more about email service providers, Convertkit. I want to know about how do you build landing pages, and where are you getting your pictures from? What tools are you using to make these videos? And so I thought about, man, it'd be really great, if I created a resource page where I could just send you, and it would list, everything in one spot, and you could just go there and get all of that. So could you create a resource list like that for your customers, where you list all the tools that they might need to succeed at using your product in one place? So that might be another good idea for a lead magnet. A beginner's guide. These are really popular. They usually take the form of an e-booklet. So a beginner's guide to vegetable storage, a beginner's guide to CSA, a beginner's guide to meal planning. I don't know. So think about our niche of farmers and eating healthy, and brainstorm some ideas there. Short videos that address frequently asked questions. So we kind of touched on this before, but you don't have to do a video series. You could just have one video. So example, what's the difference between a half and a full share? People want to know the answer to that. They will share their email address with you. So figure out what those frequently asked questions are. Maybe you have a lot of questions about payment. I know I get that, like different payment options. So you could answer that in a video. A worksheet. So I haven't used this with my CSA so much yet, but I know it worked with you guys because we just did a teaching lesson on funnels and on the ladder, the value ladder, and for both of those videos I created a lead magnet, because eventually I might try to put this in a different place to get more leads. And so I've created a document to go along with that, a worksheet that will help people use the content that I'm teaching them and make it personal for themselves. So if your particular product lends itself to a worksheet, then you could put that together. And a quiz is my final one. So the quizzes are really popular right now, and if you want to kind of get some more ideas for this one, you can go and listen to The Art of Paid Traffic is a podcast that I listen to every week with Rick Mulready, and he has I think it's episode 168 a few weeks ago, where he has a woman talking about how she almost exclusively uses quizzes as lead magnets and has just had remarkable results, and she talks about how you build these quizzes. So what's your vegetable IQ? You could take those 6 questions to ask before you join a CSA. You could turn that into a quiz and then score them. And again, use the results to help you segment your audience. So, and then I just want to bring up ebooks again. In general, I know we talked about the beginner's guides. That's usually an ebook, but just ebooks in general. If there's a topic that you could condense into a small, 3 or 4 page document, that can go a long way. For instance, in my offer to lure in my CSA, my new CSA people, okay, so these are not the returning members, but my new people, I put in my offer that part of what they would get if they signed up by this deadline would be an ebook for a guide to succeeding at CSA. And so I haven't written that yet. I have to write that in January. I told them that they would get it by the end of February. But I don't see that being a huge deal for me, because I know the steps, I know the roadmap because of the research I did with my customers. I know what they need to know, and so I'll just put that together and I'll share that with them. But if you can think of a lead, an ebook that you can create around a specific topic, that again, it's going to be a shortcut that's going to move your customer from the before state to the desired after state faster, and get them to their desired state faster, that's going to be really valuable to them. And maybe you can use that content that you create not just as a lead magnet, but you could actually double purpose it, repurpose it in your offer, in your CSA offer as well, so it could play double duty for you. So like the A to Z Vegetable Storage Guide is a great example of an ebook that I created. I also made one a few weeks ago, and I forget what I called it, but it's essentially the how to freeze every vegetable guide from A to Z. So very similar, but it's just very focused on how to freeze veggies. So that's going to be something that I'm going to either offer for sale or as a tripwire, or I'll put it at the top of my funnel. I also did something called, it was essentially an ebook. It was a list of all the recipes. You could do a list of all the recipes of the season in one ebook and share that at the end of the year to encourage people to join if they want to, trade their email address for that. Or you could segment it and make it a very small, maybe it's just around a particular vegetable variety. Recipes all about broccoli. I created a lead magnet that was just the recipes that were shared in my private Facebook group by my current members, because those have some significance to our current membership. And it was a lure to get them to renew, because they all wanted to have a copy, sort of a scrapbook of their memories of the Facebook group. They were willing to trade their email address for that. So that is kind of the list there of different types of lead magnet examples that I could think of. So let that start cooking in your head. Maybe that's giving you some ideas. So how do you find your lead magnet? I have like 4 questions that might help you with this. So you want to find the hook. Okay, so ask yourself, if you had 2 minutes to impress someone, only 2 minutes, what would you say, show, or give them that would blow their mind? Okay, think about that question, because that might help you figure out what a good lead magnet would be. If you had 2 minutes with someone to try and impress them, what could you show or say to them that's going to blow their mind? And then create a lead magnet out of that. What's an interesting story or example you can show or tell that proves that your product or service works like you say it does? Okay, this is kind of speaking back to that testimonial and that case study thing. Another third question, what is the one thing more than anything else that your prospect truly wants to know? What is the one thing more than anything else that your prospect wants to know, and create a lead magnet around that? Or what are the top 2 objections your customer might have to buying your product, and could you make something that would answer those concerns? Okay, that would be a powerful lead magnet too. So think about those 4 questions and see if that stirs up some ideas. Okay, so now I want to talk about what lead magnets are going to do for you. There's kind of a short list here, but here's why they're so valuable and why they matter. Okay, so number 1, the obvious one, is that they're going to help you grow your email list. Okay, people are going to, if you have a great lead magnet, people are going to trade their contact information for it. They are. Now, here's the thing. Once you have that email address, you got to do something with it. Okay, if you just let it sit in your email service provider and just occasionally send them offers, or just always send emails that sell them things, they will not be nurtured. They will not grow into strong customers for you. Once they get your lead magnet and they've raised their hand and said, I'm interested in this product, right? That's essentially what they do when they get your lead magnet. Then you have to, it needs to be well done, it needs to be scripted a certain way, because that is what actually ends up selling. Remember, a person gives you their information because they're not ready to hit the buy now button. The buy now button should be on your website too, and they're not ready to hit that yet. So instead they went to your transitional call to action and they got your lead magnet. So they need to be coached. They need to be coached to the conversion. So that's when the drip campaign comes in. That's the job of the drip campaign, to move them along and make them warm enough to buy eventually at the end of the drip campaign. So you'll be building the drip campaign to finally close the deal. All right? So lead magnets, their job is to get the contact information. So they're going to help you grow your list. And then it's your responsibility to take the list and nurture the relationship and coach the conversion. Okay? Number 2, they're going to help you segment your audience. This is why it's so important to have a good email service provider. You are going to know exactly what your audience is interested in if you have a great lead magnet. Okay? If it's the right one, for example, the 6 questions that you should ask before you join a CSA, that is going to tell me right there this person is interested in CSA. So email service providers, the more robust ones, will actually tag. They do the job of delivering the lead magnet. Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute, but they're the ones that actually give the lead magnet to the customer in their inbox. And so when they do that, you can tell your email service provider, hey, when you give this particular lead magnet to a customer because they filled out this form over on this landing page, I want you to tag them. I want you to flag them with this tag, and you create it. So I have a tag called CSA Leads, and people get tagged with that whenever they download certain lead magnets that I know are CSA lead magnets. Okay? So now I have these mini lists that I've created within my email service provider automatically. I didn't have to do it. They just automatically happen. And then I can go and craft these drip campaigns, these email campaigns, and I can tell the email campaign, send this to people who are tagged CSA lead and, you know, returning customer or whatever. I mean, I can tell my email service provider to do that, but you have to segment them. You have to tag them. And not all email service providers segment and do that kind of tagging in a sophisticated way. So a great lead magnet will help you segment your audience so that you can be putting them in the right funnel and you can give them offers that they're actually interested in. And you don't try to sell them things that they're not interested in. I would never try to sell a canning class to someone who hasn't shown interest in my canning stuff yet. That's just a bad idea. So you need to think about finding an email service provider, if you don't have one yet, that will be able to do that for you. So the 2 that I recommend are Convertkit and Drip. And I'm actually thinking really strongly about switching to Drip right now. I will let you know more. I'm going to do some investigating, but those are some really, really awesome tools that are, in my opinion, totally worth the money. Let's see. The third thing that lead magnets do is that they will pixelate your audience. Excuse me. Now, this really is only a feature if you have a really big list. Once you get to a certain size list, this is pretty awesome and powerful. So you can install, what do I mean by pixelate your audience? I'm talking about the Facebook pixel. So you should be installing your Facebook pixel on your homepage, on your header of your website. I don't know how to do that. I have a tech guy that I just say make sure that happens. And basically when you put the Facebook pixel there, Facebook can then track anybody who comes to your website, any page on your website. It'll be able to track which page they went to. So you can then tag people based on what pages they have visited. You can create custom audiences within the Facebook Ads Manager, and it will begin to populate and create a list of people that are going to your page all about CSAs. All right, and when that page, that audience gets big enough, you can actually create an ad that goes right to those people that have already visited your website. So you have the ability, lead magnets give you the ability to pixelate your audience, because if they go to a landing page on your website that's all about this lead magnet, Facebook can pixelate them and tag them as having gone there. And now you can then retarget them. If they didn't actually buy, you could retarget them and make sure that that they finish up the sale later. So that's a really advanced strategy, and you probably just, your mind is probably just blowing up right now. So if that was too much for you, just forget the last 5 minutes, but be aware that down the road when you get better at this and you're more advanced, this is a feature that's going to really help you speak directly and retarget those audiences that came to your website, came to your lead magnet page, but didn't convert, didn't actually get the lead magnet. And you can go back and get them again and try again a second time. Lead magnets also position you as the expert and authority in your field. So if no other farm in your area is doing this and you're the one that is, you're going to have an edge. People are going to say, well, they're acting as a guide in my journey. They're trying to help me get to my destiny, and they're going to choose you over someone else. So I haven't really talked a lot about this, but if you read the Story Brand book by Don Miller, this is kind of the philosophy that undergirds all of my marketing, the hero's journey. And so it's a big theme that'll be showing up again and again in a lot of what I teach. But you need to position yourself as the guide. You are not the hero in the story. And too many of us, I know I spent way too much time in my first 8 years talking about myself, how, our history of our farm and where we came from and blah, blah, blah. And the reality is that your customer, although they might be slightly interested in that a little bit, they really just care about their journey, and they want to be the hero. They want to get somewhere, and they're trying to figure out, can you help me solve that problem? Can you get me there? So you need to position yourself as the guide. And by creating a lead magnet, by creating a tool, a shortcut, a template, something that's going to help them get to their journey faster, you position yourself as the guide. And then finally, a lead magnet creates reciprocity. So if you give something really valuable, that's like, wow, I mean, that's actually the mark of a great lead magnet. I've heard this said several times, that if people think to themselves, wow, I could probably pay money for this, then that's a really good lead magnet. So I hear that a lot about my A to Z vegetable guide. They're like, wow, I can't believe you're giving this to me for free. And when I hear that, I'm like, okay, good. That means it's valuable to them, that they really, really liked it. Creating value for people means that you build loyalty in them. And eventually, what goes around comes around. When you give generously and you serve, they'll want to support you one day. They'll want to buy from you eventually. And so you just have to honor that process and honor the rule of reciprocity that's out there. Okay? Okay, where do you put your lead magnet? There's a few places. Number one, you're gonna want to put it on a landing page. And a landing page is it's not really a page on your website, although it's attached to your website. This is kind of hard to explain. I build my landing pages with a landing page builder called Lead Pages, which I'll do a demo on eventually, because that's a skill you guys might want to learn. Lead Pages is essentially a tool that you pay monthly for, and it allows you to create these beautiful landing pages that look very professional, but they're also tested landing pages. So these people have done tons of tests to see, do they actually convert? And so they know where the button should be, and they know, where the certain text should be on the page, because that tends to cause more conversions. And there's a whole science to this. So a landing page, though, is different than a normal website page, because a landing page, there's really only two options. They come to the page, and you either click the button that says, opt in, subscribe now, or you can click the X button at the top and close the window. Those are the only two options. It's not like a normal website page where you could hit some other menu options that are on there and move to a different page. So a landing page, you land in one spot and you're given two options. Either do what the call to action is asking you to do, or exit the page. So you usually will put the lead magnet onto this landing page, where you build this little box that comes up. It talks about the value of the lead magnet you want to deliver, and then there's these form fields to fill out their information, and then you click on it, and then it takes them to a thank you page, and the thank you page then will tell them what to do next. And you can go to your email address box, and then you actually get the lead magnet there. Okay, so you have to build that landing page to lure people into the lead magnet. The second place is that you can put it in your emails. So I will sometimes, in that nurture sequence that I create, I will have other potential shoot-offs. You know, if I want to figure out if somebody might be interested in a different product line, I can, for instance, let me give you an example of how I do this. So I have a funnel process for people that get my A to Z storage guide, right? And I'm just grooming them to eventually buy at the farmer's market. But every now and then I have an email in that drip campaign that mentions my CSA, and I have a link. I have it linked up. So if they click on the word CSA, it'll take them to a landing page where they can then get a particular lead magnet. Or I might talk about a lead magnet in one of those emails that I know would lead them down the path of CSA funnel. And if they click on it, it takes them to a landing page. So you can link it up in your email series as well. You could put it in your newsletters that are in your emails, or if you have a newsletter on your website in some way digitally, again, you could have links in there that talk about the lead magnets. You could also put them on your website. So if you have a blog on your website, you can create a post in your blog, and there could be a form that is embedded within your blog that says to download the 7 ways to use peppers when they're coming out of your ears, click here. And they could give their information, and again, it would deliver it. So you could just put a form on a blog post. You could put have a pop-up box appear on your website. You could do an exit pop-up box that only comes up when people start to show that they're going to leave the page. Or you could put a lead box up, which is, if you've gone to websites and you've seen on the right-hand side of the website, there are these boxes where they essentially briefly talk about a lead magnet and then ask you to subscribe. Again, those can be built in a tool called Lead Pages, and they're very easy to install on your website. So that's kind of where you put your lead magnets. All right, so I'm going to walk you through just really fast. This is kind of higher level right now, because how do you actually get the lead magnet up and running? This is something that I'm just going to walk out the basics, steps, but you're not going to know how to do a lot of this. Each of these steps kind of needs to be taught, or you need to go and learn it yourself. But let me just give you a general gist of, step by step, what I do to get my lead magnet onto the internet. Okay, so step 1, I have to actually build the lead magnet. I have to actually write it, and I use a tool called Canva, Canva.com. It's a free tool. They also have an upgraded version. I have never paid for the upgraded version, and I have made beautiful things with it. I haven't run out of storage. You can upload images into Canva and then drag and drop them into your canvas, and there's text forms, and you can fade things in and out, and you can lay over, and you can do circles and shapes and lines, and it is really powerful. So I make all my social media posts I make in there as well, and then just download them to my computer and then upload them onto Facebook. So I build PDFs in Canva and make them look pretty. So you have the ability in Canva to download it as a JPEG, as a PNG file, or as a PDF file. So I'll turn it into a PDF file and download it onto my computer when I'm done. Okay, so now I have a PDF sitting on my desktop. The second step is to create a form in my case in Convertkit, which is my email service provider. So I have to go into Convertkit, create a special form, fill out what is it going to say in the form to get your guide to CSA Master Kitchen Tools. Fill out your information below, all right? And then I'll tell them what are the 2 form features or form fields that I want. Do I want the name? Do I want last name, first name, email address? Do I want phone number? You have to ask all that. And then I have to actually upload this PDF that is attached to this form in the form builder. Okay, so there's a step where you have to do that. Okay, so now this form has been built in Convertkit. It has been linked up to my PDF, and then you can either post that form. If you're just going to put the form on your blog, you have the code right there that you just stick onto the blog, and it makes a beautiful form right there in the blog for you. So you're done. You've already created one place on the internet where people can find your lead magnet. But if I want to actually build a landing page, I have to go to lead pages and build the landing page. So I'm not going to tell you how I do that obviously right now, but that is the next step, is to build the pretty looking box with the picture and, you know, what do you have in the form, so that people will understand what exactly are they getting when they trade their information. Then I have to connect that lead page to the form that I just made in Convertkit. Okay, again, not going to talk to you how to do that, but it's a pretty easy step once you learn it. And then I have to upload the finished landing page that's all connected now. I have to actually upload that to my website, to my WordPress website. Again, it takes about 30 seconds to do that once you know the 2 steps you have to do. And then I have the finished product is a URL address that says this is what you're going to share with the world, sharedlegacyfarms.com/ladder. All right, and then I post that wherever I want people to know, you know, here, go to this URL to get my lead magnet. So you can either put that lead magnet post, the URL address in your Facebook ad. You could link it up in an email. You could do a Facebook Live video where you teach something, and then you say, hey, to get this resource, go to sharedlegacyfarms.com/ladder. So you can just verbally say it so that people can go get it. All right. So those are kind of the steps that get you to the end. Again, I know that you're probably like, well, I don't know how to build a landing page. I don't know how to use lead pages. Well, those are all things that you learn, but those are the steps that are required to get that lead magnet up and running. And we'll teach you that. Okay. Your first step, though, is just to make it, okay? So before you get overwhelmed with how do you actually get it connected to the internet, just build it first. Figure out what should your lead magnet be. So that's my final call to action here. I want you to brainstorm 3 potential titles for a lead magnet. And go back to the video, listen to those 4 questions again that I gave you to kind of think through. Think about the different types of templates and examples that I gave you. But just brainstorm. What would it look like? And then you have to actually make them. And yes, that takes time. If it's a really good one, it might take you a whole day or 2. But trust me, if it's a great lead magnet, you won't have to make one again for like another year or 2. Or once you make 2 or 3, you've got this awesome arsenal of lead magnets. And you can just pick and choose from them, and they just keep chugging. I've had the A to Z Vegetable Guide lead magnet on my website for like a year and a half, 2 years, and it is still working for me. So again, this is what I'm talking about. Does it take time? Is it hard on the front end to build the machine? It takes work. Yes, it does. There's no silver bullet, but once you build the machine, it just keeps working for you. And then there's just the sense of relief, okay? So before I leave, I'm going to share my quick list. It's actually, I've got about 10 things here of types of PDFs that I have made that I would consider sort of lead magnets. Some are better than others, okay? So here we go. I made a harvest calendar, okay? That was a good one. 6 questions to ask before you join a CSA. The A to Z Vegetable Storage Guide. Freezing vegetables from A to Z. Also another guide. I made a vegetable ebook for every vegetable that I grow, okay? I haven't used them all for lead magnets. Most of them are in my content library for my customers, but I do use a few of them as lead magnets. Do-it-yourself vegetable stock, so how to make your own veggie stock. Formula for a perfect smoothie. Sheet pan meals. So I gave recipes for different sheet pan meals, and I gave how to build a sheet pan meal. A pesto, formula for a perfect pesto. Excuse me. Freezing spinach. How to can tomatoes. I did an illustrated step-by-step guide for how to can tomatoes. And guess what? People who download that, what do I know about them? They are canners. And you know what canners do? They buy a lot of bulk produce from you. So that is another great funnel to build because they spend a lot of money with you. 6 steps to using your box. CSA Master Kitchen Tools. The Ultimate Guide to Ingredient Substitutes. The Ultimate Checklist, how to find the right CSA. Boom, that is an awesome one. Oh my gosh. If you are trying to look for prospects, you could do a whole Facebook Live video on how to help customers find a local CSA in the area. What are the questions they should be asking? What are the things they should consider when they're comparing two different CSAs? And then I made a checklist that went along with that people could download. And that got a lot of bang. 10 things, CSA Master Members Advice. So I got the top 10 words of advice from my CSA Masters that they wish someone had told them when they were rookies. That was also very popular when I was doing my big launch push to get people to join, my big promotional push. So those are some great ideas to start with. Brainstorm your list, okay? Brainstorm your list and just start writing. Start putting it together, and we'll be teaching you in January sometime how to actually build a landing page and link it all up and pick your email service provider. But start thinking about what could that lead magnet title and content be. Next week is the week of Christmas. I'll still do something, not sure when, but right now my plan is to do kind of a brief, this will be a much briefer one. I want to share with you the big picture roadmap for where we're going. So I know that Ford, he just gives me so many good ideas, suggested, hey, it would be really helpful. I'm learning all these things from you, but I kind of want to know, what do I need to work on first? And then what do I need to work on second? And I just thought that is so wise. So I'm going to kind of share with you the roadmap for how to build the funnel out, where we're going, what you really need to work on first, second, third, fourth, fifth, what you work on if you have time, what you don't really need to work on if you can't get to it the first year, so that you have a sense of, when is this journey done? When do I know I'm done? So how can I space out my time and manage my time to make sure it's ready by the time I need it to be ready? Okay, so I'll share that with you next week. I hope that's a valuable piece of information for you. Let me check our questions. Let's see. Jamie wants to know where I make my infographic. I make it on Canva. And so a lot of the images that I use to build that infographic come from pixabay.com. Those are free, Pixabay. So I'll download the images from Pixabay onto my computer, and then I'll download those pictures into Canva, into my file in Canva, and then they kind of go into a picture library that you can then drag and drop from as you build your stuff. And then you can shrink and grow your images as you need to. Do you send this in their email so you know they give you an email they use most? I think what you're asking here is that you want to try and get them to give you the email that they actually use. So when you deliver the email that they enter into the form, when they're filling out the form field on the landing page, they're going to have to enter their name and their email address at the very least. And whatever email address they give you is the one that Convertkit or your email service provider will send the PDF document to, or whatever it is that you're delivering. Okay? So I think in most cases, depending on your email service provider, it should show up in the inbox the first time. But if you have a bad email service provider that's not really good at delivering things, it may end up in their promotions tab. So they may not find it. That is a problem with some email service providers. Convertkit and Drip have really great deliverability rates, which is why I recommend them. But here's a way you can solve that problem. In the process of building this, when you build your landing page, you also build a thank you page. This is the page that comes up after they've submitted their email address. And you can write anything you want on that thank you page. In fact, you should write things besides thank you. You can give final next instructions. You can say, hey, it's really important if you want to get your stuff, you got to go to your email and look for it. So you kind of want to coach them on their next step so that they don't abandon the process. So that's usually what I do, is I'm like, hey, don't forget, in order to get it, here's where you need to go to get it. And if it's not in your inbox, it's probably in your promotions tab. So you need to direct them with some of that information. All right? I hope that answered your question, Jamie. If it didn't, please write another one real quick. All right. That's it. I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a happy holiday season with your family. We're going to get there, guys. Remember, slow and steady wins the race. This process of learning how to do online marketing, it takes time. So I want to do a quick just reality check with you. If you're expecting to get everything figured out and perfect by the beginning of February, it is not going to happen. Okay? It's not going to happen. It can't happen that fast. So the next video that I'm going to teach you is going to kind of give you the big picture. It's going to show you what you need to learn and in what order. And I think once you hear that, you're going to know, you're going to have a better idea of how to manage your time and what you need to be working on first, second, third, what's most important in order to get where you need to get by your deadline. But be aware that this is a process that took me several years to feel really comfortable with. I'm still learning new things. I'm still not a master at everything. It takes time, and you gotta just continue to plug away and expect a few roadblocks, but you'll slowly learn the skills, and then it's just gonna be awesome. Okay? Thanks so much for joining me. Have a great holiday season. Take care. Bye.